Hi beautiful, welcome to my channel. In today's video I am going to be talking about my top 10 fall eyeshadow palettes this year. I know it's a little later in the season this time around, but it honestly has not felt like fall outside up until this week here in Georgia. It has been hot, very hot, all throughout September and even the first week of October. Finally, it's starting to get a little bit chilly, at least in the mornings. And so finally the fall vibes are hitting. Like, the leaves haven't even turned here in Georgia yet. It's been that hot. I cannot wait to share with you my top 10 fall eyeshadow palettes this year. As per usual, I have a little bit of new and a lot of like older tried and true palettes that I love. Plus I also have all kinds of sizes to share with you, so I cannot wait to get started. If you're interested in any of the eyeshadow palettes that I'll be talking to you guys about in today's video, I have them all listed and linked down below in the description box. A couple of them might be tagged on the screen, but mainly the description box is where you're going to find not just the links but also the discount codes, because I do also have discount codes for some of these palettes as well. Let me share with you the vibes for my 2024 fall palette selection. We are doing soft autumn, okay? Nothing overly dramatic. The most dramatic thing we're doing is kind of what I have going on right now. For the most part, it's like golden leaves and more natural vibes that we're going with. So let's get started. I just realized that out of my 10 palettes, 5 are indie brand palettes. I'm going to leave those for last, and I'm going to start with the more commonly accessible brands. I think I'm going to maybe even go by brand. I'm going to start with Natasha Denona because I do have some Natasha Denona suggestions for the fall season. I totally thought about including the Yucca palette in this video, but like I said, my mindset right now is a soft fall vision that's a bit more intense, colorful fall. So let me show you what I actually got from Natasha to show you, starting with this beauty right here. This is not just an eyeshadow palette, it's a face and eyes palette. The Glam Face palette from Natasha Denona, which is one of my all-time favorite Natasha Denona creations ever. As you can see by the holes in the shimmer shadows right there. Every time I go anywhere, this palette is 100% of the time coming with me. I love the blush. The highlighter is beautiful. And these 5 eyeshadow shades right here are the most essential, the most beautiful, the most flattering colors ever. As a makeup freak, I always need more, but I could, as a sensible person, only have these 5 eyeshadows in my makeup collection and be happy, because they are perfection. That is how strongly I feel about these. I do have a Natasha Denona discount code on her website. By the way, the code is PATTY15. So whenever you shop anything Natasha Denona, code PATTY15 saves you 15% off of your purchase. Anyways, let me show you the swatches of these shimmers, because one of the main things I love about this palette is how intense the shimmer shades are. These are very reflective, very sparkly, very attention grabbing shimmers, and I love them. But then we also have the beautiful soft blendable matte shades that are absolute perfection and so flattering on so many different skin tones. These 5 shades create the most perfect eyeshadow looks, and you can use this palette for daytime, you can use it for work, you can use it for events, you can use it for a full beat with a very strong smoky eye by building up that brown. It is so versatile, so beautiful, so user-friendly. If you don't have this palette yet, you are 100% missing out, and I don't say that often. I'm always like, look at your makeup collection, you might not need it, depends on your preferences. No. This palette is everything. I've had it ever since it came out. I'm pretty sure that was 2 to 3 years ago. And as you can see by how enthusiastic I am about it, it has stood the test of time and then some. This palette is perfection and you need it. And I'm going to shut up about it now, but you need it. Also, I know this is a fall related video, but as you will see, a lot of the palettes I'm going to mention, because I am in this soft fall mood, are actually palettes you can totally use year-round. Let's keep going with Natasha Denona, and I'm going to recommend one of my all-time favorite quints from Natasha, which is perfect again for all year round, but also perfect for the fall season, and that is the Mini Star palette right here. This palette, also perfection, also has stood the test of time for me. One of my most used Natasha Denona palettes in my collection. I love her quints in general, but this one is so versatile. I mention it every chance I get because it's truly one of the best palettes. This shade right here is Fall Perfection, that burnt greenish, beautiful, like old gold shade. So fantastic. Then you have the beautiful champagne in this duochrome shade right here. These three shimmers are perfection for the fall season and also for smoky eyes in general. This eyeshadow quad you can totally take from daytime to nighttime with ease. It has two truly perfect matte shades that go beautifully with all three of the shimmer shades in it. It is super versatile. I also tend to take this one with me whenever I leave my house anywhere. Like if I were to go on vacation and I need to pack light, I totally would be packing this eyeshadow quint right here because of how versatile it is. You take this with you, there's not much more that you're going to need as far as eyeshadow is concerned because it pretty much has all of your bases covered. You can change up your look by switching up the different shimmers in the center of the eyelid. You always have a perfect inner corner shade, and then control the level of intensity that you want your eye look to be by blending or intensifying the matte shadows. Again, perfection, another one that is very highly recommended from me for sure. Third and last Natasha Denona palette I'm going to talk about in this video, and this is the only brand that I have repeated. Everything else is from all kinds of different brands, you'll see, but Natasha is my favorite when it comes to eyeshadows, and she has these three palettes I'm talking about today that are just exactly the vibes that I'm going for this fall. The third and newest, of course, the Natasha Denona I Need a Warm palette. This one came out about a month ago, maybe a month and a half now, and I love it. I love it because it is a soft, warm palette. It's just your good old soft neutral with a hint of a warm palette. It has a beautiful combination of mattes and shimmers. I did actually do not just a review video on this palette, which by the way, the review video has my most favorite eyeshadow look I've created with this one. The second look on the review video is like the most perfect halo-y, smoky eye, super glamorous ever. I love it. And so not only did I do that review video with the two looks, I also did a 5 looks, 1 palette on this one. So if you want looks with this palette, you have plenty to look at here on my channel. This palette has some stunning shimmers. It has a multi-chrome shade. The shimmers, by the way, have different variations as far as the intensity is concerned. I tend to prefer the very shimmery, sparkly shades, but there is also shades that aren't as intense in this one. Like these right here, these aren't as glittery, as intense. They're a bit more demure. More for like if you need to wear this palette to work and still have a bit of shimmer but nothing too catchy. It has those options for you in here as well. The shimmers, honestly, all of them are beautiful, and then it has really nice mattes. It has soft mattes, warm mattes, and then intense, pretty dark brown mattes that are amazing because it means this palette is also really good for all kinds of complexion. All three of the Natasha Denona palettes I'm mentioning in today's video actually have pretty decent amounts of depth to them. This one though might be the best with these two intense brown shades right here. This is a cream shade that is beautiful, by the way. And then you also have shades like this one here which give you a bit of warmth to the skin. Long story short, this palette is beautiful. It has amazing quality and a color story that I am 100% loving this fall season, so I highly recommend it if you haven't gotten your hands on it yet. No more Natasha Denona, and also no more repeated brands. Everything else is from different brands that I'm about to talk about. I am continuing on with the more readily available brands, and then we'll jump into the indie brands. The next palette I wanted to mention is from Patricia, and it is this beauty right here. Here we go. The Patricia Major Dimensions 3 Matte Eyeshadow Palette. An all matte palette because I love my shimmers, but I also really love matte shades, and having slightly deeper versions of like a color story to like build up intensity is one of my favorite things ever. That is exactly what this palette has for you. As you can see, the top row is a bit more warm, a bit more fall appropriate, if you will, but if you want to combine it with some fun neutral and cool tone shades, you also have this bottom row. This palette is beautiful, it's versatile, and it is perfect for anyone who loves natural looking makeup. If you love natural looking makeup, you will love this palette because again it has the building up of the shades so that you can make natural makeup look very diffused. I'm also a fan of the cream shades Patricia includes in his palettes always. I find that it makes the palette a lot more versatile and you can use them as eyeliner as well. I just noticed I didn't put any eyeliner in my waterline. Hold on. I had to fix that real quick. Anyways, absolutely love this palette and it is perfect for this fall season as well. This is totally also perfect for the rest of the year as well. I forgot to say, if you need inspiration or looks with this palette, I do have my review video where I created a couple of different looks with it, both of which I absolutely love. So if you're looking for some inspo, definitely check out that video. This next palette, in my opinion, is very underhyped. I don't know that a lot of people love it as much as I do, but I love it. And I talk about it every chance I get. And it is actually perfection for the fall season. And this one does have fall specific colors in it, not like all of the neutral, slightly warm palettes I just showed you. This one has greens and it's got orangey shades, but they're like soft enough shades that it still feels very natural. I'm talking about the Anastasia Novo palette. I absolutely love this one. Very underhyped in my opinion. See, this one has orangey shades and we also have some soft green colors that are perfect for the fall season. I love this bronzy shade as well. Also this warm gold right here. This palette is beautiful. It has a really great formula, super soft pigmented shadows. I do have a couple of videos on this one from when it first came out. This is another palette that totally has stood the test of time for me because it's probably now close to 3 years old, and every fall season I want to reach for it. And this one, for me at least, is a bit more fall specific because it does have those fall vibes for me. This purple shade that looks very random in there does make it quite versatile, which I love. So you could use it in other seasons as well, but I am a fan of reaching for this one during fall. Anyways, check out the 5 looks 1 palette I did with the Novo palette. I remember I had a ton of fun creating different looks with this one, and then I also have my review from when I first tried it, and you know, I said it in those videos and I'm still saying it a couple years later. This palette is excellent. I can add that it's very underhyped because I don't see a lot of people talking about it, but it is a beautiful palette in my opinion. Moving on to some indie brands, I'm going to start with Sigma Beauty. I believe Sigma Beauty is an indie brand because they don't have investors, so I put it in the indie category. This eyeshadow quad from Sigma, perfection for the fall season. It is called Peach Pie, and first of all, ever since the little quads from Sigma launched, I have been obsessed with them. Second of all, Peach Pie is one of my favorite quads they launch. Third of all, it has all of the soft fall vibes that I am looking for this season. I love that it's a slightly warm palette with peachy shades. It has a perfect transition color, a perfect color to deepen up that transition shade. This is a perfect inner corner or all over the eyelid shade, and then this one is perfect for like right in the center. This little quad is fabulous. It is fun to have, fun to travel with. Great quality. I absolutely love it. I have a Sigma code. It's PATRICIAALONSO. So anytime you want to shop Sigma, you can always use my code. I don't feel like Sigma is one of those brands that I hype up a lot when it comes to eyeshadow palettes, because in the past I used to think their quality wasn't that great, but honestly their quality has improved. I honestly think my perspective on Sigma eyeshadow quality changed with these palettes here. Sigma Beauty is always improving their product, and I think their formula truly has shifted throughout the years. If you haven't tried Sigma Beauty eyeshadows in a while, I highly recommend that you do. If you want to start with something little, try this palette and you'll be surprised and amazed at how amazing their eyeshadows are now. Definitely give them a chance if you are like I was, because I was not into Sigma Beauty eyeshadows, but they've gotten so much better, I promise you. Moving on to an indie brand I love, Adept Cosmetics. This is the nrin palette, another palette that for me has stood the test of time. I don't know if they have this palette available on their website right now. If you're interested, you may check. My Adept discount code is PATTY10, I believe. Adept Cosmetics has the craziest, most intense, shifty, beautiful looking eyeshadows. Just check out how beautiful and intense and creamy and pigmented these shades are right here. I barely touch the pans and this much intensity comes out every time. The nrin palette, in my opinion, is the best palette Adept Cosmetics has ever done, period. The end. I've tried a lot of palettes from them, a lot of which I like. Their shimmer shades are always incredible, but as far as color story, as far as like performance and also versatility, because you really have so many different colors in here, the nrin palette is my favorite. And like I said, it is, in my opinion, the best palette Adept Cosmetics has. I even love the mattes on this one, which sometimes Adept Cosmetics matte shades are a little harder to love, but these actually work. They're nice and blendable and pigmented, and they work with the shades that come in this palette. Highly recommended. If you have not tried Adept Cosmetics and you're lost and you don't know what to get from them, this would be my #1 recommendation from their brand for sure. I feel like this video has turned into like Patty's favorite palettes period rather than just the fall favorites, because I'm realizing that a lot of what I picked is like my all-time favorite from the brand rather than just my fall favorite. Maybe not my all-time favorite from Anastasia, but like everything else pretty much my all-time favorite. Anyways, nrin is definitely the way to go with Adept Cosmetics if you've been wondering about the brand and you've been wanting to try them, and this is the palette right here that you need to get your hands on. 7 down and 3 to go. Another indie brand that I love and that has amazing shimmers but also really great mattes is Cosmetica, and one of my favorite palettes that they have is this one here, the Fighter palette, which is also kind of the softest color story wise that they have, because they have a lot of intensely beautifully pigmented colorful palettes. This is a bit more toned down for them, and it happens to be one of my favorites, of course. And of course, this one, in my opinion, is my perfect one for this fall season. I love mustard yellow colors, the neutral brown, and then like I said, they have really great shimmers as well. So let me show you some swatches. So here are some swatches from this Fighter palette by Cosmetica. I have done 2 to 3 looks with this palette here on my channel since I've had it. However, they're not all in one video, unfortunately. I know that I did shorts videos with this one, and then I also played with it in a video where I was reviewing a bunch of things at once. I don't have a big dedicated video on it, unfortunately, but I'm pretty sure if you type Fighter palette in my channel, something will pop up that will show you my looks with this one. Anyways, absolutely love it. Cosmetica doesn't only have beautiful shimmers, they also have really creamy, very soft, blendable mattes, and I highly recommend their palettes if you haven't tried them yet. I do also have a discount code with them, and that is PATTY10 as well. 2 more palettes to go. The next one I'm going to show you, you cannot order, but you can pre-order for whenever it launches again, because it's been super popular and it got sold out, and so you can pre-order it if you want to for their next release of it. It is perfection in a palette, in my opinion. I did do a dedicated video on this one. I'm talking about the Glamlite Cosmetics Barely Basics palette. This is what it looks like right here. Fall in a palette, in my opinion. You have the olives, you have the warms, You also have a couple of cool tone color stories. You have beautiful blendable pigmented matte shades, and you have the most incredible multi-chrome shimmers as well. Here's the video I did with this one where I created 3 very glamorous looks with this palette. I like to divide this palette by color story. So you have 4 color stories in this one, and I always do transition, darkening it up, smoking it out, center of the eyelid, inner corner. If you want to think about it simply, that's the best way to think about it. You don't have to wonder what to do. You just follow what I just said, and every time you're going to create a very cohesive, very elegant, very beautiful, very glamorous eyeshadow look. This palette is perfection. Last but certainly not least, the palette that I've been wearing all throughout this video. This is a newer palette, and honestly probably my most used so far this fall season, because every time I want to create a look, I'm like, ooh, I should reach out for that one because I love the formulas so much. I created some shorts videos where I had this palette on my eyes, and the first question every time I posted was, what's on your eyes? And it was the Gargoyle palette from Unearthly Cosmetics. Take a look at this absolutely stunning color story. As you can see, that is the purple I'm wearing on my eyes. This is the shimmer I'm wearing right in the center of my eyelid. Then I went a little lighter, and this is my innermost corner shade. Up here on my crease, I have this color. This palette is perfect. It's also the grungiest palette I've shown you so far, I'm pretty sure. It's also one of the most colorfuls I've shown you so far, I'm pretty sure. It is beautiful. It is versatile. You can create the most basic look with this one, or the darkest smoky eye with it, or you can go colorful with it. This particular green shade right here is one of the most unique shades of eyeshadow I have in my collection, period, because it isn't a teal. It's like a grayish green color, and somehow their formula works so well that it shows up beautifully, it blends beautifully, it builds up beautifully. Honestly, Unearthly has been winning me over with their palettes this year. One of my favorite spring palettes this year was the Unearthly Cosmetics spring palette, and then this one for fall is absolute perfection. I didn't even show you swatches, you guys. I love their shimmers, I love their mattes. I love their formula in general. Take a look right there at how beautiful these are. Let me show you some of my favorite matte shades as well, because why not? See? So pigmented, so creamy and buttery and blendable and just formidable. Their eyeshadow formula is excellent, okay? If you've been wondering about it, I would say go for it and try it, because you're not going to regret it. These are my top 10 most favorite palettes for the fall season this year. If you have another palette I did not mention that you've been loving this fall season, please drop it in the comments down below. If you guys like this video, give it a thumbs up. Let me know what you thought of my picks down in the comment section. Thank you all so much for watching. Like this video if you liked it, subscribe if you haven't already, and I hope to see you back in the next one. Bye.